In this video, we'll be introducing the parts of the cello. It's important that your son and daughter knows how to say the parts of the cello, because if I'm talking to them and I say, hey, get that bow away from the bridge and get it closer to the F holes, and they look at me like, what? They need to know the parts of the cello. The first part is called the scroll. The scroll decorates the top of the cello. If we did not have a scroll on the cello, we would still be able to play the cello. Right underneath the scroll are called the pegs. These tune the instrument. They tune the strings. Please do not let your child play with these pegs, because they can either tighten the strings too much and break them, or they can loosen the strings too much and the string will actually fall off this wood piece called the bridge. The next thing is called the fingerboard. This long black thing right here is where we're going to be placing our fingers to play the cello. The next thing is the names of the 4 strings. I have a cute little saying to introduce the names of the strings, and it is cats, go, down, alleys. From the left to the right, we have C, G, D, A. They should be able to say those letter names in and out of order. Right below the fingerboard and the strings is called the F holes. This is where the sound comes out of the cello. Right next to the F holes is called the C bouts. These are cut out of the cello so that when we play with the cello bow, our bow doesn't bang into the sides of the wood. Right below the F holes is called the fine tuners. The fine tuners tune the cello just like the pegs do. So don't let your son or daughter play with those fine tuners. Right below the fine tuners is called the tailpiece. The tailpiece helps hold the strings in place. And right below the tailpiece is called the end pin. The end pin is usually inside of the cello like this. But when we start to play the cello, we'll be pulling the end pin out so that the cello will sit at the appropriate level. This whole front part here on top of the cello is called the belly. The whole back piece is called the back, just like we have a back. The top of the cello is called the shoulders, just like we have shoulders. And right above the shoulders is the neck, just like we have a neck. The last part on the cello is right at the top. It's very, very hard to see. It's where the top of the fingerboard is raised. It's called the nut. The nut has to be there so that the strings are raised high enough so that when we put our fingers down on the strings, we can actually press the string down to the fingerboard. If the nut was not there, the strings would be right against the fingerboard. And those are the parts of the cello. Now we are going to introduce the parts of the bow. The first part of the bow is called the horsehair. The horsehair helps the bow play over the strings. If we had no horsehair, we couldn't play the cello. The next part on the bow is called the frog. The frog is right down here, and it holds in the horsehair at the lower point of the cello bow. Right above the frog is called the grip. It's a rubber piece. Right above the grip is called the stick. Right above the stick is called the tip. And the part that's probably the most important part is the adjusting screw. When your child puts the bow away, they need to adjust the screw towards them so the hair on the bow looks as loose as their hair on their head. Why? Why do you say we have to loosen the bow up? Because if that bow hair stays tight at all times, it will start to snap off of the frog and out of the tip of the bow. When they take their bow out of their cello case, they will spin the adjusting screw away from them to make the bow hair tight. How tight is tight enough? Tight enough is that they can take their pinky and stick it between the horsehair and the stick in the middle of the bow. A lot of kids tighten their bow so much that it starts to look like it's arcing the wrong way. Please do not let your son or daughter tighten their bow too much. And those are the parts of the bow.